Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the Mayor's Town Hall meeting. We're doing a little bit of different format because of change in location. We thought this might be a little bit more informal and do a little roundtable conversation. But before we get started, I'd like to invite Pastor Dr. Anthony Sanders to say a few words of prayer, particularly in regards to what's happening in Buffalo and the unrest, really, and the tragic loss of life here in our city. And then we can actually do the pledge as well.
You want to do the pledge first? Or?
Yeah.
We can just bow for in prayer. Father, we thank you for another day and another opportunity. Now we come before you to bring our hearts and our minds together to try to be able to discuss so we can make our city better and make it better for our living and better for our recreation and better for us in our just jobs and whatever we can do. We are asking you now for wisdom from above. We pray now that we can come together in a spirit of unity. We want to pause now and pray for the tragedies in Buffalo, the tragedies here in our city. We ask now that you're the God of peace, and we pray that peace will prevail. We ask all these things because we know in you all things are possible. So we thank you in advance that as your word says, as it is written, let it be done. In your name, amen.
Okay, thank you. Let us rise for the pledge of
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First of all, I want to round off where we left off. The other meeting, we had talked about affordable housing, access to capital, and the programs on the county level. We also spoke about policing issues, and we talked about Chief Michael, which I'm sure Jeremy will talk about as well. One of the critical issues that we've been hearing a lot about is illegal dumping. And it's happening here, it's happening all around the city. It really is. But for some, there's a couple sites here that have been cited. They're critically, some are under construction. There are people parking illegal vehicles across from churches. So I just wanted to briefly let you know tomorrow night's agenda, and I'm just going to go over it really briefly. We've established key positions actually in sanitation for illegal dumping, so we can have like a strike force. Once it's cited, we can go out, get it done, picked up, so it's not laying around for a long time. We also have been focusing on hotspots. We haven't announced this yet necessarily publicly. Annabelle Taub, Commissioner Taub and I and myself and staff on behalf of the commission have been working piece by piece with us. Police department, we are actually presenting some code changes. There's going to be fines. We're trying to force the criminal penalties as well. So we have a robust campaign for education that's going to be rolling out. We're asking people for Crime Stoppers. We're actually going to create an award program through like a Crime Stoppers to report illegal dumping. If it leads to conviction and they catch somebody, you can get a reward for that reporting. Just highlights, I guess. There's 23 hotspots, and I think this is key. We've now strategically placed cameras, which is really important. And staff is really, police staff is working collectively. It's all across all the jurisdictions. And so to be continued, trash watch, camera monitoring, trash pickups, and code changes we're doing right away. We found it's difficult. If you own a property and people are dumping on your property, that you're the one that gets cited. So we're looking at some changes of how to not penalize those individuals. Now, we don't want to not penalize absentee landlords either. So you have to have some ownership of managing your property and taking care of it. We will give courtesy notices, but we're going to try to turn it around pretty quickly, particularly the property across Greater Ward Chapel today. They've already had that reported. They're actually just moved in. moved it, like, started storing their RV, digging dirt, doing construction, and actually it's encroaching on somebody else's private property. In those cases where it's non-homesteaded property, we have better teeth to go after them. And they had a breakout today, I don't know if you were part of that, but I wanted to let you know that we are listening and we are implementing changes. You know, we want to be proactive because to me, this is like the broken window. It's the piles here and it grows and grows and grows, and then people from outside of the community, oh, well, Allendale isn't doing anything. I'm gonna start just bringing in my construction debris or, you know, staging construction sites. We have that issue as well. So this report, I'm not gonna go through every, like, I think it's like 20 pages. If you go on our agenda, it's cohb.org. They're on agenda, click on agenda, and it's on tomorrow evening's agenda. So if you get a chance, you can always call us, give us your input if you see any other changes. So we're really looking forward to continuing to address this blight on our community. And with no further ado, I know affordable housing, we're working on CRA, and you'll get a little bit of update. So I won't steal all your thunder, but we do realize the needs have grown. It is officially, there was a housing task force. If those of you that attended last time, I had a chance to attend it. If you're making minimum, like $15 an hour, 100% of your salary, if you're working 40 hours a week, is going to your rent. It's unsustainable. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Earl, who's city manager, but also in another hat, in another agency, is the executive director of our CRA. And I want to thank him because we're right knee deep in the middle of our budget. So I'm going to not steal your thunder. You can review the city stuff. And I'd like to give a warm welcome to Dr. Jeremy Earl, our city manager. And should we go around? I wanted to do informal. Maybe that's a good idea too, so we can get to know everyone. There's some familiar faces, but maybe not.
Tim, perfect.
Cassandra Allen,
Is it Jordan?
and he's Jordan.
Sandra Lechner.
John Beasley.
Mayor Morgan,
Joan Brown. Julia Brown.
Ida Smith.
Kunia Gordon.
Reginald Smith.
Reginald.
All right, so good evening, everyone. It's good to be here. It seems that we lost 2 years with COVID. I think we met in 2019, right before the board approved the revised CRA plan. A lot has happened in 2 years. I never thought I would be in the seat of city manager. I was just CRA executive director there and assistant city manager at the time. But I guess God had different plans, and I've been in this seat now for the past year and a half, and we are basically in rebuilding mode. We and the commission obviously are really trying to tackle some serious issues that have not been tackled for a very, very long time, and we are trying to get our budget in order. Just so you all know, and you all who watch TV, watch this. On the commission meetings might have heard, the city would have been bankrupt this year. So in 2022, we would have run out of money completely. But for the dollars that we received from the federal government, that has allowed us a few years leeway to try and fix our books and try and fix the issues that have been building internally for a very long time. And there are just a series of things that occurred, and I'm not sitting here, we're not going to lay blame, we're trying to move forward. But just it's important that everyone understands that we were and we are actually still in a financial emergency. But we put some very aggressive steps in place to have revenue creation. We're doing that successfully. And that's actually caused us to have a little bit of a surplus, but even though you have a surplus, when you have a deficit, you still have a deficit. So if I owe $10 and now suddenly have $5, I still owe money. Yeah. But we're fixing those issues, and with the support of the commission, they've been extremely supportive over the past year and a half of fixing these issues. I mean, let's look at infrastructure. Our infrastructure citywide has not really been addressed for decades. We have some of the oldest pipes, for example, here in the Northwest area. Some of the oldest pipes in the city here in the Northwest area. We have pipes breaking all the time, lift stations that weren't working, water mains that were breaking, force mains that were breaking, sewer coming out of the manholes. So what we're doing is we went on a very aggressive program to start designing all of our underground infrastructure so we can begin to update it. And when I say the systems are old, we're talking in some cases, the pipes in this neighborhood might be almost over 70 years old in some cases. So these pipes have not been addressed for a very long time. And so now we're actually beginning to address it. Over the next 8 to 10 years, we're gonna go through a program of a revenue bond just to address our underground infrastructure. Over $200 million, probably $250 million worth of underground infrastructure, just to get us to the point where we're okay, and that pipes aren't breaking, lift stations aren't breaking, sewers not coming out of the manholes. That's literally what we're doing right now. The city went through a geo bond for parks. And one of the things that we've discovered is the fact that the city has not budgeted in many cases for repair and replacement of the parks that we have. So Opie Johnson, there was no maintenance money budgeted by previous administrations for a very long time. In many cases, administration did not inform the commission of a lot of the things that were actually going on. And we changed that over the last year and a half. We have been very open, very transparent. Everyone sees the books, everyone knows what's going on, try to rebuild some trust with the commission. We started to budget millions of dollars for repair, $2 million just in the upcoming budget for repair and maintenance of our facilities. Remember, we weren't even doing that before. So when something happened, when something broke, all of a sudden they had to go into reserves, but now their reserves are low because over the past 7 years, the city was blowing through about $14.5 million of reserves. And so our reserves are we're literally on the brink. And so now that we have the dollars from the federal government, now we're going through what we call a stabilization program for the entire city. Stabilize our budget, that way we aren't opalaka, that way someone doesn't come in, the state doesn't come in and run the city, and we're okay. We've also embarked on a program where we accept and acknowledge the things that we've done and the things that we did that did not work in the past. So one of the challenges that we had is we were understaffed for many years because the easiest thing that a city manager does when they want to come in and impress the commission and impress everybody is they either freeze position or lay people off. But then what happens? We can't take care of our cemetery. We can't take care of our parks. We can't take care of our water main breaks. We can't take care of anything. And we did that for decades. For decades, we were understaffed. So because we now put some revenue generation things in place, the commission is able to now allow us to add critical positions throughout the city. Not just extra positions, but critical positions in various departments that were needed. So for example, cemetery. Cemetery we spoke about last night. For decades, and we're gonna talk about what we talked about last night, it's not a secret. So the cemetery, the city did not put the resources to maintain the cemetery. We barely had dedicated staff. We would draw from over here in this department, over here in this department, over here in this department. They are literally burials that we have in which a family member comes in and the father died 20 years ago or the mother died 20 years ago, and we go in to now bury the spouse, and there's someone already there. That's because there was no record keeping. There was no resources that were applied to some of the most basic things. And again, the commission was not really informed because when you found out,
We gotta do day-to-day.
right, they don't do the day-to-day operations. So that's the other thing. So the commission is not involved in day-to-day operations. That's the city manager. So if I don't want them to know something, then I just don't tell them, right? And more often than not, staff below the city manager level may not tell them either. And that may go on for decades. So one may say, well, how come the commission didn't know? Quite frankly speaking, when you have a manager council form of government, that can occur very easily. And so one of the changes that we made is to be very transparent with this commission. We show them everything because I've always said you plan for the day that I'm not here. And on that day, they have to keep the next city manager accountable and they have to know what's going on. And that individual can't hide something from the community or from the commission. So that's why openness and transparency are really the key of what we're doing. So we're beginning to fix it. So yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How are we doing? Is you gonna let him go all the way and then we come back? Because I want to ask you a question on the
Please, sir.
cemetery.
Okay, please.
Yes.
Because the cemetery generates its own revenue. So for maybe 5-6 years ago, we were asking, why can't we, one, look to do a mausoleum? Because the cemetery is going to run out. I mean, oh, I'm sorry. Is it on?
Yes.
The cemetery is going to run out of plots or sites or whatever you want to call it. So we were asking from the community. At one time, we set up a cemetery committee, and we were asking, well, why can't we look to do similar to Dania, a mausoleum, so we could go up, and if we put it on, I forgot exactly the location, it wouldn't be in front of no one's home, you know, because nobody want no mausoleum in front of their home. So, but we never, you know, there's a lot of politics, because that's what always messed things up. There's a lot of politics going on, and it kind of got killed. So my question to you, before you go on to the next thing, you're telling us about the cemetery, and I understand that, and you're telling us about the city's lack of resources. I understand that. But you can't do all that and then leave us out here without telling us the plan to, you know, recover and where we fit in. And I'm counting myself as the we, because we kind of all know each other here. So my question is, in your thought of going forward, why not revisit? Because the cemetery can generate its own. It's no reason why the cemetery shouldn't have staff. I don't know what managers, and you know, every manager come in and point backwards. So I'm not here to talk about what another man. I'm talking to you right now. Why can't we look at ways to generate the revenue for the cemetery and look at ways to improve it so that we can now, it can have its own staff and we don't have to worry about its future. And we could do that if we could put a mausoleum, just like Dania. I took pictures, I brought them, I showed them a similar one that we could build. We still have one of the lowest rates in this South Florida area for, I mean, I don't want to bring you in here, but Sandy can tell you more about this than me. So my thing is, I'm asking, what's the forward thinking from now you and your staff to make it a revenue generator?
Okay. So the first thing one has to do is you have to first identify the problem.
Oh,
Is you have to first identify the problem. So when you identify the problem, you then put the plans to fix that problem. So one of the things that we've done is we've given the city commission their first 5-year stabilization plan. A part of that 5-year stabilization plan includes a lot of different things. But understand, when you have problems that go back decades, and if you know, I haven't called any previous administration's name, but I need to give you all the background and the history of why we got where we are today. So with the cemetery, if you go on the workshop agenda, we had a workshop last night. I asked them, as we discover the challenges with the cemetery, I asked them to give me a 30, 60, 90, 120-day plan for the cemetery. That's the plan that we are now implementing, where we didn't have the name plaques, where we don't know where the bodies are, where So we're having a plan.
Don't you have a GPS system at the cemetery now?
We don't know, no, we don't know, we don't know.
It's, yeah, no.
No, so we,
It's really.
in terms of what?
In terms of, isn't the cemetery where you, it's a tracking system, it's not,
We
man,
don't,
I'm not, I don't know for sure.
no, I'm telling
I thought it's a
you, we,
tracking system out there where they could tell you.
Nope.
no, we don't have that. I'll tell you that right
We don't
now.
have.
We do not have that because,
In all fairness, all right, and I'll just jump in really quick, because I knew the history. And I talked about the history and how we need, talked about the history, talked about the organization. God rest his soul, Pastor Johnson and the group and some of a lot of the people that know the history, that are the pioneers, that understand even, you can't joke about it, but where the bodies are buried and the history there. So when we established that, it fell by the wayside. And you're being a little generous. They actually took from DPW and moved everything from DPW parks. So over past 5 years, that's why, and we're all really collegial on this, because we have so much to fix that we just need to keep marching forward.
Okay.
So I did share the history with the rest of the commission that might not have heard it, and Jeremy will fill you in. I just wanted to jump in,
so we have a 30, 60, 91, 20-day plan. It includes having a cemetery manager, a cemetery coordinator. Because while you're doing the burials, you still gotta go back into the boxes, and things are in boxes. All the records are in boxes that have not been opened for decades. Now we gotta go back, we gotta sort through a lot of files and figure out where everything is, because that wasn't done. That's a part of the fix. The other part of the fix was the perpetual care funds that you were talking about. The perpetual care funds, we had not budgeted those properly, and we, the city, did not put those in a perpetual care fund account. So what happened? It means that because the money is floating around, the city then says, why don't I use some of that money to do this?
the money that we set aside.
So that's some of the problems that we're trying to fix today. So you're right, there's supposed to be money. At some point in time, I'm gonna have to make a recommendation to the commission to try and restore some of those dollars that should be there. Well, no, but it's a part of everything. Yeah, it's a
I
part
didn't
of everything.
interrupt you, but I did.
So we have a plan where we have to begin to kind of go back to the past and put some of those dollars that someone reached in and took out and put somewhere else. That's what happened at the cemetery. So now it's the first time that we have dedicated, and when I say dedicated staff, not someone at this department or that department or that department. We now have dedicated staff who will now do those things. We haven't had a rate increase. We had a rate increase, I believe, approximately about 5 years ago. We kept the residence level, I think you remember, and we increased the rate for those who were on the outside. So cemetery is one of the things, just to give you an example. So now we're trying to fix that. My goal is to try and fix that over the next 2 years, because you need time, because you're still doing burials, you still gotta figure out the record, you still gotta do what you said, Reverend Doctor, where you know exactly on a computer system who, what, where, when, why, and how. So that's what we're trying to fix, but that was not there, and that is not there, and that's what we're trying to do right now. So that's one thing. I'm sorry, yes, sir.
And I must
Yes,
add,
sir.
anybody that was impacted by them taking all the flowers and all that, that was an unintended consequence. It was like no good deed goes unpunished, but we have to give credit, obviously, and Jeremy's being, well, when he started, you didn't even have an assistant city manager, did you? I'm like, one. So he had one person, so they had stripped all these, we're saving money, we're just laying off people, nobody was getting anything done. But Sharon Rangoon, who's the assistant city manager, she went in, and that it was meant to clean up and pay respect. So I don't want to I want to give her credit, because I know she ruffled a lot of feathers, but it was an unintended consequence of trying to do a good deed. So I
Yes,
to make that apology.
Yes, since you mentioned about the record keeping was poorly kept, how can people like myself who already have plots out there pay for them? How can we verify that it's still there in the same spot?
you should be able to call, I can give you the information for the cemetery manager. You should be able to call, the DPW director as well, and we can have staff begin to verify your plot for.
Another question, you said stabilization. Can you give us an example of stabilization?
Okay, so over the next 5 years, the city's projected deficit is $60 million. Because we were spending money, we were spending more than we were making. That contributes to that deficit. So you have to stop the deficit. Sorry, you got to stop spending more than you're making. That's the first thing. Second thing is you now have to begin to address some of the issues that cause you to not be making money in the first place. Those are now the revenue things that we have to begin to address. And so stabilization means, okay, so, I'll give you an example. Parking, right? Parking has been talked about in the city when we go back to the records. You found something from 2005. Just talk. For parking, we had 3 major areas: Scavo, we had North City Beach, and we had South City Beach. We were supposed, if you run the numbers, we're supposed to be making about $500,000. But because we didn't do 1 citation in 2018-19, we had like 6.
One.
No, actually, I'm being dead serious. Like, you will see the years because we went back. You'll see, like, in 2018, 0, 2019, 6,
We're short 20.
2020. We were short police. So one of the first things we said, okay, we're going to start a parking program to fix our parking issue because we had a parking issue in our city. So we were making maybe about $200,000 a year. Now we are on track to making about 1.1, 1.2. Those are some of the stabilization things that you put in place, things that should have been done years ago that we now have to begin to do and now have to begin to put in place, because those things now fund other things. I'll give you another example. Cars. When I came here about 5 years ago, one of the things that administration did at that time was to stop funding vehicles. And because we need to balance the budget, we took about $1.7 million and we said, okay, no more vehicles. We're just going to balance the budget using these things. Now, all vehicles were falling apart, police vehicles falling apart, things were vehicles breaking down, higher maintenance on vehicles. And now we have to put a stop to that and make sure, okay, let's now begin to fund vehicle replacement. This is not just police cars, and we're talking parks vehicles, we're talking everything. DPW vehicles, just all of those things. And now we are beginning to say, okay, let's take funds that we were not spending properly over here and apply it over here. And so by this shuffle, we're applying resources in the proper place. You can see a trend where we should be able to destabilize. And we're also making some cuts where we need to make some cuts. There are things that we used to do that we don't do because it didn't make financial sense. Just like we would do with our own home budgets, right? So now we're stabilizing. Our 5-year plan says, if we do all of these things, if we increase the revenue, if we take care of the issues that we need to take care of, if we put people in place to actually provide the service to the residents, in 7 years, instead of a $16 million deficit, it should be 7. Now, 7 is still a $7 million deficit, but it's not 60. And I can find a way to deal with 7 in 5 years rather than 60, because 60 affects everything in the entire city. And so that's a plan that the commissioners have been given. It's a plan for how we stabilize the city. I have zero intention of having Tallahassee come and try and run the city. But the reality is that we do have to fix these issues and address some of these issues. I know we talk about affordable housing.
But no, code was
Oh, code.
one too.
Yeah, code was another one.
Last year we added.
Yes, so we didn't, it wasn't necessarily this, yes, we added 2 code compliance officers that were approved by the city commission. And again, this gets us up to minimum staffing levels because the city, for a city our size, you only had 5 people that were code officers that would do the entire city. Well, you're not gonna get good code enforcement if that's the case. So we now have raised that number, so we've added positions, as the mayor said, those two code compliance positions in sanitation. They will deal with the illegal dumping, which are the issues. I'm sorry, what's it?
No more, and
Yeah,
people
all the
pay
courtesy,
fines.
yes, and all the courtesy, the city was just, we give you a courtesy, just nothing but courtesy. Nothing serious, nothing but courtesy. Now, because we're no longer doing courtesy, and we're actually holding people accountable, we went from X amount again, now we're tracking, we're tracking in terms of even those revenues. We're tracking,
Department can pay for
yes, the
itself.
department can pay for itself, and now more of those dollars going to the general fund. Again, stabilization. Going back to the citations, I know you mentioned the citations. Because we were not writing tickets, again, we really weren't writing tickets. Now because of just the tickets, so forget the parking revenue, just the citation revenue that we were not addressing, it's almost $500,000 or more. So imagine this, a year and a half ago, you had $1. A year and a half later, all of a sudden you have like $1,000. Just by making a few tweaks in the system, and these things benefit the entire city, because now if the general fund is healthy, then we can now begin to do things over the entire city.
A lot of people are really complaining about, my voice is pretty small. Okay, a lot of people are really complaining about overbuilding. I mean, everywhere you look, we're building new things. Shouldn't we be getting a lot of financial support from these new people who are coming in and building great big building right down on Diplomat Parkway? Of course, we had the one with all the businesses on US 1. We have Hallandale Beach Boulevard, all new structures, and people are complaining it's bringing in a lot of traffic and all this kind of stuff. But hopefully, we should be getting revenue from all these new buildings. And hasn't that helped?
So the short answer is, it will help. That's the short answer. It's not enough. So we're actually not built. So the city has so many plans that were approved, but developers are not building all of those plans. So the city has plans over $1 billion worth of development on the city's books. But because developers are not really coming in, so you're seeing some development. Diplomat, yes. You're seeing 2000 South Ocean, you're seeing some things. But if I have for example, if I have a $30 million building, do you know how much tax the city may get on that in a year? Maybe 250, 300,000. It's not millions. Because remember, you're divvying up the tax between Broward County, the city, the taxing districts. I mean, that money is being divvied up. So Hallandale is not getting as much money as people think. So what you need more of those buildings.
It's redevelopment too.
It's
That's
right.
redevelopment. That parcel itself.
Right.
That parcel itself on 2000 Ocean, that's redevelopment. And then how many was 50 units? 65 units. And that was the same units as the hotel. So now you're selling residential, and yes, the value goes up, but obviously the building value, if you go in and you're homesteaded, yeah, we'll get some bumps from it, but it's not as much as you think, because the millage rate, and that's the conversation I had during my state of the city. Millage rate, no, millage rate, the millage rate is only 7 mils. That's 7 mils. It's not that, and that's our general fund revenue. And that could be a whole other discussion, but budgeting 101 is, I can do that another day.
If not, listen, since he said about all the different construction and financial resources, I don't know, you guys have financial advisors to help the city grow with financial, because all that construction, we don't have the cathedral. This is a city that strives for entertainment. And so much revenue can be brought to this community, to this town. Y'all let Miramar put that thing out there. We ain't putting nothing for ourselves. You gotta remember, we the city before Jazz in the Garden and Miami and all of them. So all that kind of revenue can be right here. All that kind of money can be right here. We just overlooking the big picture. All the entertainment, we be right to the beach. And this is it. We gotta look at the investment. Because we didn't invest in it, but we didn't invest in it right. We didn't put no cathedral where we can have entertainment. People love to come here to entertain. That's that money.
And I love that you said that, because that was the core of what the CRA plan was about, Deacon, was the entertainment. Who are we as a city? We're a tourism entertainment city. That's what we are. We're not a marina city. We don't, that's not who we are. So to your point, you look at events that we've started that begin to tell the story. So you look at Food and Groove. We partner with South Beach Wine and Food Festival, where we have 25 of our own restaurants here in Hallandale Beach. This year we had 1,000 people. The first year we had 500 sold out. Second year, another 550 sold out. This year, 1,000 people. We gave out the first awards at the festival this year as well for our best, in a sense, our best of show. And people were on social media from all over South Florida saying, Hallandale, Hallandale, Hallandale. We're gonna do more of those things because they promote local economic development, to your point, and it creates a destination here in the city of Hallandale Beach, to your point.
Yeah, I talked with your CRA lady and explained something to her. Just what I'm talking about. Because so many people ask about entertainment. We got the best out traffic in any other city. We had a cathedral, at least 5,000 seats. Concerts, golf shows coming out. And you would be surprised at the kind of money you talk about gonna come into this community. But we ain't investing in that kind of stuff. We investing in buildings that are not gonna bring them a tax dollar.
So we're working with developers like some of the large parcel developers, like the Big Easy and other, like, you have 50 acres.
Yep.
They are able to do what you're talking about. They're able to start doing what you're talking about. But one of the things we also have to do is we have to also, this gets into the weeds, but we have to also fix our zoning to allow for more of what you're saying.
And Gulfstream is on the verge of making their announcements finally, and, that's been 15 years in the making. So, that's when we tried, and Pastor Sanders, can I call you Anthony? Anthony, I sat and said, at a certain point, we can push and push, but we have to take care of our own public realm and do what we have to do.
Yeah.
And that's why we took the bull by the horns and said, guess what, let's do parks, that we can control and make a healthy environment for everyone of all ages. And, that's one of the key components. Now we're doing infrastructure. So we're doing our job, and we have certain controls, like Dr. Earl said, about zoning and saying, well, you gotta help us in this, you gotta help, pay your impacts. And some of that's changed even, Anthony, since you've been on, because the state legislators. So we used to get a lot of play, but what do we call them? Voluntary contributions.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, it doesn't happen that way.
Talking to who?
So, yeah.
Yes, Pastor?
No, I was,
Hello, everyone. I just want to go back to what Dick and Brown was talking about in reference to entertainment, because we do have the Big Easy. That is also a facility where entertainment can come, because in fact I'm working with some individuals who would like to bring the carnival, Trinidad and Brazilian carnival here. And so I believe that would be a wonderful opportunity for our city to be showcased in that realm where we're able to come in and celebrate the various cultures. Another thing too, when you talk about destination, we're now working with the historic Broward County Culture Division, where they're looking to foster a historic type destination type of way, similar to what they've done at Trump, where we're able to then look at all of the things historically in our community, which is something that we need. Similar to the African American Research Library, we'd like to have that same type of structure or same type of entity or destination foster in our community, because we're really, really suffering here as far as we have no place really to go and to celebrate our history. So I'm really hoping as we begin to bring these programs to you, that will, open mind to be able to receive those things, especially when we're doing something on June the 17th, which is the Juneteenth celebration at Foster Park. So I'm really looking forward to doing that and having some wonderful things with the Broward County Culture Division. So just keep an open mind.
Right here.
I just got a quick question. Speaking on Foster Road and entertainment and all that stuff, the acres by the firehouse, Claudia's acre, what's the status with that? Because it's been going on, I'm gonna be an old man before I see a shovel over there.
Yeah, here comes things.
Yeah, and it's been over like 6 years now, and I still don't know how she got that much property, but I don't want to get into all that. I just want to know, like, what's the status of that? Because that is precious land that y'all gave her, and that's the biggest land in Foster. In Holiday on this side. So it's like, I haven't seen a shovel over there yet. I haven't seen a brick over there yet. And if it was anybody else, I feel like y'all would have snatched that property back and y'all would have went to looking for somebody else to work with. So what's the status with that, and why is it taking so long for a shovel to go in the ground?
So she has her permits, and on June 9th will be the groundbreaking for that project. June 9th. 2022. Yep, June 9th.
And wait, what are they, what is she starting? Because it's a lot of stuff she was supposed to be building, right?
So the four,
phases and-
yeah, so there are three parcels. There's A, B, and C. She's doing them all at the same time because it's basically one big building. And then you have some homes and some other retail.
And what are the stipulations with community involvement? Because that's in the heart of our community. If she taking over that whole corner, we gotta have some type of involvement in it. Like, because we could, like you saying, entertainment, you know how much stuff we could do if we get a beautiful building right there, with access to the beach. Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I want to know what can we do, because we talk about money. We can make a lot of money if we put a beautiful building right there.
So let me be honest. That property was given to that developer with a developer's agreement. So that's not gonna change, right? I mean, it's just the CRA board, commissioners approved that project. It was given, that project is done. If we were to take away that project, there would be litigation, and then nothing would happen on that site for another 10 years while you go through litigation. We had the Hallandale Medical Center complex that we had litigation on.
And we had to settle.
And we had to settle for approximately $400,000. And that took a while. That took 5
And
years.
that's politics.
And that-
I'd rather wait
so-
5 years
So in
than
other words, so
let
I,
somebody build something we ain't got no say in.
so I can't, so June 9th, 2022, they told us that that's the date for the groundbreaking. I literally saw the little flyer today. They have their permits. The issue that they had that took them a little bit of extra time was that that site has been vacant for so long that they were borrowing owls on that site. And the state says they have to go through a process where you remove the owls and you do all these things, and that was the last holdup on that site. But June 9th, to answer your question, June 9th is a date for that project to break ground.
I have a
Do you have
question.
anything for community?
I think part of the developer agreement, there still is retail space, I believe.
Yeah,
That
there's
was
retail
originally in there. I don't know
space,
what-
that community for restaurants, or whatever the community wanted. There's some retail space, incubator that was in that building.
So that they still have to come and put stuff in there.
So, I have a follow-up real quick. So, corrective action, what are we doing as a city to protect ourselves from garbage deals like that again? Because really the Northwest community, and I know I'm asking the question, I gotta ask it. sorry, I have to ask it.
No, you want me to do it?
That's-
I can be more candid.
It's more of a managerial issue, right? Not that it is a city manager issue, but it is a management issue, because you do business, that didn't work, we're not gonna do that again. What are we doing as a city to not do garbage deals like that again? To where now we're chained at the foot with this developer who got all this free land that we're not allowed to speak about. And then now it's burrowing owls, it's all of this. It is a buildup in frustration that we've had this beautiful, I mean, you and your team spent a year doing the CRA plan, brought out people here. We did a whole presentation, I think it was like 4 people here that was a part of that presentation, did all this work. And this thing is still sitting. So what corrective action is being taken to mitigate?
Do you want to do it?
Oh, and there's a question, I think, in the comments.
All right, let
No,
me
I'm
just say
asking.
something too, because you know my history. You know how I feel about the community involvement, commitment to this community. Elections have consequences, and that happened. I believe Jeremy inherited this mess, period. He inherited it. And it's not, so I just want to go on record right here and now, it's going back to we have to move forward. Every month, when are they breaking ground? When are because he'll attest to this, I go in, I want to know them out, and that's what, but he did get parking and different concessions from them, but we're moving forward and digging dirt.
So when I was hired in 2017, that deal was pretty much cooked at that point in terms of going to the commission for approval. It was literally right. So that deal had gone through CRA board, there were some initial approvals, and then I got here and the deal was pretty much cooked. And then I said, why doesn't this deal have any affordable housing? So just at the tail end, I was able to get, of the 89 units that they were developing, I was able to get over 10% of those units as affordable housing. And then I had the agreement changed to where I added 2 senior, because I had to try and get something, right? At least something. Remember, the deal was already cooked.
So, but the way you sound, it's like better off if we just sue them and wait for litigation. Because because they're gonna build right in 5-10 years from now. They're gonna be making so much money and the community gonna be getting nothing from it. So like, to me, we better off suing them and waiting on litigation because we gave them land. How can a community give them land and we get nothing in return? That makes no sense.
But 8 units in 2.
And that's the biggest land, again, that's the biggest acres in the Northwest. So it's not like it's some little corner section. That's the biggest land. So how can you guys give them, and I know it's not your fault, but I feel as a community, we might as well get together and go fight that and wait 6 more years. It's been empty for 30 plus years anyways. What is 10 more extra years? At least we could fight and build our own stuff. Like, that's what I'm thinking, because the way you sound like it's no hope, or we just gotta take it and they gonna build it and we just gotta sit there and watch them make millions of dollars and we like, hey, help us. We need money too, but we not getting nothing from it. That makes no sense to me. Like, I feel like we might as well take it to litigation. But that's just
Me too.
I think, what was it?
No, well, you want, yeah, go ahead.
Let me just say something. And I'm gonna say this pretty directly. They have the land, but they are still taking all the risk. They're still borrowing the money. They are still building bricks and mortar. Wait, don't get angry. Don't get angry. And I'm gonna say, be straight up, because I know where this is going, and I've had this discussion the last meeting. Anybody in the community that comes forward and can put together a deal and present it within the parameters, the legal parameters, to make it work, Dr. Earl's here to discuss it again, and I'll reiterate what I said. For us to go backwards and start over, I don't believe that we would get maybe more affordable housing, but to require any of them, our CRA only has 4 more years. So we don't have any of that other leverage, or on the state level to extract from a legal perspective. And correct me if I'm wrong, because the state has created a lot of barriers to that. And I'll leave it at this. One of the things that I brought up last night was more affordable housing, built in place, no more pay-as-you-go. We still need to talk about local, and we still have a hiring local issue. We still should have that. They have removed that, did they? Yeah.
It's not in there.
Okay, great. So, yeah, so, but like I said, 5 years ago, this was all changed. So we're trying to move forward. There's still parcels here. There's still the other parcel with HBCRA that still is vacant. So there are still opportunities. So in my mind, I don't want to be in litigation. I don't want to lose litigation. I don't want to lose. We've lost already. We lost on HBCRA, and that was a great deal, and it would have been built, but it was all political. So I don't want to put good money after something that I don't believe we would win. And I may be wrong, right? I mean, so I can't spend another, and I'm gonna bring it up, we're still, and I can talk, this is my meeting, we're still looking at a $4 million lawsuit. I can't go into it, but nobody likes to talk about it. We're still in a $4 million lawsuit for this mess. So for us to, like I said, I know it's a good cause, I believe in the cause, but I have to be pragmatic to a point that it's like, I'm not gonna put good money after bad money in the limited time in the CRA that we have. I'm very frustrated as you are, but maybe, am I right or wrong? So, but affordable housing on site, built in, I wanna increase the numbers, make sure that we're not putting on hold any of that stuff that you need to do the radius of, what other vendors you're using, all that stuff. So I believe in that, and I still think we can do that, and with the developments that are coming forward, and correct me if I'm wrong, if we can't, we can, because I don't want to disappoint, but I'll turn it over to you. Affordable housing and even like local contracting.
So with the affordable housing, there are certain preemptions that the state now takes. We can no longer mandate that a developer put affordable housing into a project if they build a project that is by right. The state has preempted that right for everyone across the state. You cannot.
Even if
The
you
state-
give them the land?
The land is only a fraction of the deal. So what the state said is, your code requires X. So it's really based on your code. Your code requires X by right. So developers went to the state legislature last year, and they complained that cities were making them build affordable housing, or adding affordable housing units. So the state said, okay, well, we're not gonna allow that anymore unless you compensate the developer for the units that you are making them construct. So in other words, if they're building by right, and they're 100 units,
Right.
if we want 101 units and that one unit is affordable housing, the city has to pay for that unit. Or provide some way to compensate the developer for that unit.
But isn't the compensation in the land?
It depends on the deal. So for example, the land in that area, no, because there's a value to land. There's a value to land.
And
So,
who you're dealing with.
but let's just deal with real estate. There's a value to land.
Okay.
If you have a $20 million project and CRA gives you land that's worth $300,000, you've not paid for affordable housing in a development deal. You've given land, but if you have a $30 million project and each one of your units in that project may cost you $250,000, me giving you one piece of land that might cost $200,000 does not pay for affordable housing. That's what the state is saying. Now, if I want affordable housing, then I have to compensate the developer for those units. So if it's $250,000 per unit, then the city's gonna have to find $250,000 per unit, or you allow the developer to go higher than the by right. So if your by right's 100, that's why I changed our code. And I changed our code to say, okay, so here's your by right. You can build your 100 units. Most developers will want to build more than what the code allows. So by changing it, I've said, okay, so now if you go above what's required in the code, in the zoning, that's the compensation the state recognizes. And now I can tell you, oh, now you're gonna build me affordable housing. And so we've built that into the code to force to incentivize developers to build affordable housing to compensate for what the state did. The state's preemption did that. Not the city. That was the state preemption did that.
So if you have commercial, right, and you wanna do a mixed use, then our leverage is, we can add the units as part of affordable housing. So that's what I'm saying, like, if we're gonna do certain things, we have to codify it. Like, we could go on about preemptions too, everybody's worried even just about the cultural wars in the state. We have been really handcuffed as cities as far as what we can do, what we can regulate, and how we go about doing it. So that's what I'm saying, within the legal parameters of what we have to deal with, it wasn't like 10 years ago, it wasn't even like 15 years ago.
And I'll give you an example of what the mayor just said because this affects everybody.
Like,
So let me give you another example. They preempted at the state level our ability to regulate home-based businesses. What does that mean? It means that if somebody wants to open up a strip club in the house next door, and I'm literally just picking up, in the house next door to you, we can't regulate that. Like, that's literally what they did at the state level. And so now, not yesterday, but tomorrow on the agenda is a new program we have called Certificate of Use Program. And that program will require every business to be visited by a code officer. So we know what the zoning is, what the use is in that building. You're gonna have to pay us additional money we have to find some way to regulate those uses, but that was done at the state level. So now our job is made harder. So for example,
I wanna regulate parking.
if you wanna regulate parking, but you know, it makes it, what's that? No, but think about your home-based business. If your home-based business on what was your peaceful neighborhood street, and now someone has opened up a business that is lively and now takes 50 cars a day, your peaceful street is no longer going to be a peaceful street.
What about all the other millions of ways of running a business out of your home?
But the person that lives
If I
business.
don't have 50 cars coming to my business.
No, but then if it's then it's fine. No, but then it's fine. But what we're talking about is the fact that before we could say you cannot have a strip club beside a church because there's a house beside the church. Now because there's a house beside the church, they can do pretty much anything they want in that house.
Okay, so what about when y'all say I can't build an efficiency on top of my garage to make extra income? Why are y'all so stuck on what
We're changing
affordable
that.
housing as the only way to benefit the community?
No, we're not. Look,
Like,
so
'cause all you said so far was charging residents for parking and giving us affordable housing.
but
Like,
listen,
that's the same route we've been running for 20 years.
but listen, this is
And
a
that don't really
conversation.
change.
This is a conversation that could literally take 10 hours.
But we
The reality, no, what I mean is, so I'm gonna say this, we
directed staff to look at those units and micro units.
So we are actually working on a plan to allow for accessory units in residential. That was not allowed before. That's what we're talking about. But that's what I'm saying. Think about it. And when you run a city, there are like a million different pieces to that city. Just because I don't mention something doesn't mean it's not being done. It just means a question has not been asked to trigger a response that addresses your question.
That is not.
So the accessory dwelling unit, which did not exist before, I've asked our zoning people to allow for those mother-in-law suites, those because that's also affordable housing.
Talked about that.
But that, yeah, we talked about that.
Right.
So it's an implementation of what we talked about 2 years ago. To your point, Eve, when it comes to the CRA plan was approved in 2019. 2019, the plan was approved, right? But then 2020 and 2021, we had COVID. So everything from a development, you all know everything stopped. So we pretty much lost, I'm talking just society, lost 2 years. And we're trying to regain those 2 years as quickly as we can by making these changes to the zoning code, by adding the accessory units, by doing all these things while also fighting the preemptions that the state has now put on the city that even a commission cannot overcome.
I don't wanna hog the mic, but I'm glad you brought that up. My next question is, you mentioned, or Mayor mentioned, sorry, 4 years left as a CRA. So, before we took our 2-year break, we were in the process of getting an additional loan to extend the CRA. Where are we with that? Do we still have money in the CRA to do the things that we've asked for in the CRA plan specific to the Northwest? Not that I don't care about everybody else, but I care about where I live. And then I know that you just mentioned 70 years of infrastructure issues. So what is that going to look like in terms of budget when we need to make improvements to the infrastructure and we need to build quality affordable housing and entertainment and bring money into this quadrant?
So the loan.
Sorry, loaded question.
No, so there's a lot there. So the CRA ends in 2027 officially, so it's about 4 to 5 years. The CRA in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, actually at the beginning of the pandemic, it got a loan to begin to do some of the neighborhood changes that we talked about in 2019. So the new sidewalks, the street lights, all the things we talked about, those are literally approved last night by the CRA board, so we can start doing all of those things that we talked about, because now that loan that we got 2 years ago was supposed to be done in 3 years. So technically we'd only have a year left on the loan, but we lost 2 years to COVID. So we had intended to do a lot of these things in 2020, 2021. But because of COVID, we lost time. Contractors, there was no contractor doing work. Now you know there's supply chain issues. We can't get windows or doors or concrete or anything else. So now we've slowed down. But the short answer to your question is we have the money. The short answer to your question is the board has approved Burkhart Construction to be the CMAR construction manager at risk for those projects. The things that I just mentioned.
Can I add something, sir? Just because I know it'll get too far.
You need the
So you said Burkhart. So I think that's kind of what is floating. So for me, and I'll say for me, you just proved that Burkhart is doing it. I'm very familiar with Burkhart, but it still doesn't recycle back inside our community. Because if Burkhart got the contract, and I'm already was getting heartburn with this stuff you're talking, but now, if Burkhart got the contract, okay, Burkhart's out of Palm Beach, and they got the contract, I guess, to do the sidewalks and all of that. See, to me, we should have had Burkhart now working with community to give some people, not none of y'all, but people some work so that some of that money that's already coming out of our money would come back in the community. See, that's what I'm saying. That's sad, because if the city's saying it's broke, or not y'all saying it's broke, I won't speak that on y'all guys, but the city's saying it has to come up with a stabilization plan. All right. Then we're going to have to take part of that, because you mentioned we're going to do a bond. Okay, going to do a bond for underground. That's us. Who got to pay for the bond? We're the ones got to pay for the bond. Now, Burkhart gets it. So that's kind of what the younger guys are speaking of. They're going to get this contract in our community, and Burkhart won't put nothing back in the community. And to me, since you sit in the hot seat, to me, you guys should have been looking at that. If we're gonna pay them, why can't they turn around? There's plenty of guys out here know how to do the sidewalk, and I'm not saying I do, but there's plenty of guys out here know how to do a sidewalk. Would love to have work hard now participating, not just in winning the RFP or whatever you got to give them that, but with that. So that's what I say to the mayor. It's how we write our RFPs. If you're not going to write an RFP to make them inclusive with local, then you think I'm going to ask you to do
I
it?
know it's awkward. I know, it will be awkward for you. Okay.
Well, I don't know about awkward, because what he said is becoming awkward in terms of him speaking the truth, but for us, even though, but for us, when you talk about where the city is, when you're talking about the money shortage, and they ain't saying it, but I'm gifted, I can read the minds here. They're saying, Lord, where that gonna leave us? Where's that gonna leave us that day? Because now we're already behind the 8 ball when it comes to, we lost 2 years COVID. CRA sunsets in a few years. Nothing that has been done in terms of Harlem Village. Nothing has been done. We haven't done any affordable housing in 4 years. I'm talking about single family affordable housing. There hasn't been a major construction, major multi-unit affordable housing nowhere in the Northwest. Now I think we did the one with Cornerstone over there, but that's really, we consider that on the other side. So Hallandale being a tale of two cities, we're having these meetings and we're asking the mayor to continue to have them, because with the 2-year loss, it's gonna affect us more than anybody. More than anybody, whether it's sidewalks, whether it's I haven't even got to the point of wealth generation, because that, regardless of what you do over these next few years, if we're still stuck in the same economic condition that we've been in for, how they'll be almost 100 years old, and we're still in the same economic condition, and nothing was done to now put that same infrastructure stabilization plan in place to move this. And that's what I'm saying, really, and I'm saying this as sincere as I can to you, because I know you well enough, I know you have the intellect, but there's gotta be the willingness, to say, I gotta make this happen within this community. And the last thing I'll say, and then the mayor mentioned that if we come with the right plan, and if we come with, and it's legal, then we get, and I'm saying that's not, to me, that's not accurate. If we got the same breaks that Claudia got, we could build ourselves.
Could have built what company?
We could build ourselves. It's enough men and women within this community that care enough about it. We could build ourselves. If you, and I don't mean you personally now, but if management gave us the same breaks, because even though I'm agreeing with you, that was done before you, she defaulted. So you still had to give her extension for her to get this. So we were born at night, not last night. So you still had to extend her for her to keep her agreement. So by doing that, she got favors to still have that project 6 years later. I'm not saying anything with the project. If we got that same type of favor, we could build our own. We could build, whether it's houses, whether it's over there when you talk about where CRA still own land. But when we do it, we're not met with that. We're not met with that. We're met with different checks and balances. Now, I know Claudia was struggling financially to meet the financial measures. I know that. I don't need his opinion. I know that. But yet she got a pass. If we come there and something wrong with our finance, it's dead on arrival. And these are the things I'm saying to the two of you. If we could fix these things, because we unless with our single family homes, because that's the easiest way for you to build wealth is through your home. But we also have enough people within this community that love it enough. We want some ownership. And I'm saying whatever legal way, you need to get legal in here also. Whatever legal way we could do it, we need to be doing that over these next 4 years so that we won't just gentrify the community. And get the corner away. We used to call that the corner. It's the retail tag. We used to call that the corner. And get that corner away, which is the gateway. I can hear John Hardwick now. That was the gateway coming in here from that side. So that's gone. But we want some ownership, or else we'll be living here, but really the other parts of the community, we don't own nothing. So when you're telling your children about Hallandale, you can tell them who used to be here. But once everything is built, if we don't own anything, then it leaves us in that position. So I'm not trying to say it's anyone's fault. What I'm saying is we would like those same measures that y'all give other people. And I don't have to ask nobody opinion. I don't need to hear from nobody. I know what happens. And you give them favors to help them along the way. We don't get that. That's why I'm saying if you would allow us, I think it's people in this room would love to take part in some things that we could do for Hallandale. They ain't in this room, they watching me on Facebook. And we could do it. So I'm gonna take y'all up on that. I'm gonna come with the resources. I know I can do it. I just got tired of fighting y'all down there. I can come with the resources. I can come with the expertise. Now I want to see what y'all gonna do to help something get built the same way y'all gonna help with them 5 acres that y'all are gonna deal with Claudia on June when she turned 30. You had your hand up?
Yeah. You have to,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I keep going back and and I say it like it's real. We face some very, very severe challenges, and firsthand what they were within our community development agency.
Right.
I mean, we suffered through them. We suffered through it's called the years of the snakes or whatever, the years of the snake or whatever. And, I have to be candid. I'm saying legally because we and every CRA still has that microscope on us, period. Period. That microscope's on us. I'm not saying I don't believe we did anything wrong. I mean, I didn't. I wanted to empower the community. I wanted them to require to hire a certain amount of people local. I wanted them to hire vendors. I certainly still would support that. But we are not going to go into a grant opportunity anymore. No more grants. We've leveraged $20 million. But if we have land and you can put, I might be prefacing it, if you can put the group together, just like, you're right, Polly. Claudia's doing the brokerage. Claudia's putting it together. She's managing it. She got her financing. She had problems with her financing. We can bring up 8th Avenue Commons is having problems with financing. You know that. But we need to make sure, as financial stewards of all the CRA's money, how it's managed. And that's the task of our city manager and our CRA attorney. And I'm telling you that, basically everybody's gun shy about the whole situation. But as far as I'm concerned, how many people are vendors here that do sidewalks? How many people, yeah, how many people do, how many do roofs? How many does the structure? How many people have done construction? It's nice to say you've done it, but if you haven't done it, you need to bring the people in partnership and put it together. We can't put a deal together for you. I don't think that's even legal.
Are you speaking to me?
No, I'm just saying, you're the one, you're proffering the question and the comment.
No, I
I want
want
everybody
to
to
ask you.
I want everybody to understand that's the dilemma. I'm saying that's the understanding.
Yeah.
But as far as grants are done. We can't give a grant to do, training. We did the security training. We can't do, you wanna start? We can't do,
We have a question on the floor.
yeah, all right. And I need to really address it so people understand it. I can't say here, first of all, you need a corporation, you need all your documents in order, you need to understand that if you're an entity that's going to do that, you need to have it together. If you can bring that together, you can bring back the financing, and you can bring back a developer, a learned developer, that's part of that deal, okay? That's what I'm talking about.
That ain't nothing.
All right.
So let me,
That's not right.
no, the mayor is right, but let me,
I'm trying to make it simple so
Let me-
people understand it.
let
I
me
mean,
say.
sure, I'd like to be a developer, but I don't develop. You know, my neighborhood's getting bought up, it's vacation and by owners, it's all kinds of stuff. I mean, my neighborhood's re-gentrifying. My kids can't even live in 4-acre live there anymore. So I feel the same thing, it's re-gentrification. But we can't, okay, go ahead. I think you're understanding what I'm saying, okay?
So let me set the record straight on some things. Hometown was the group that was organized.
My hometown.
My hometown. Now, there have been around 3 developers that have come to the city. In that meeting, this is from this community, investors. In that meeting, I sit around a table and I have my development services director, I have my planning and zoning manager, Christy Dominguez, I have CRA people at that meeting. I have a lot of people at that table to try and help a deal occur every single time. I cannot force one of your investors to actually do a project. I'm the city. If you come to the table and I have my full staff at your disposal and you cannot bring a deal to the table, that is not my fault. When I have our zoning and I literally tell your investors, and I told the last one from New York, he had done stuff, and I sat with him, and in every single time that this community, and I'm using the general term, this community has brought me a deal, my team and I have said, and I have the emails. My team and I have said, when you are ready, we are here to help. And I make sure that I am in these meetings with other witnesses, just in case someone says, I'm not doing something. I could call Vanessa Leroy right now and say what occurred here, and she will tell you exactly what occurred. I can call the other people in that meeting and say what occurred in this meeting, and they will tell you what occurred in that meeting. I was told that we will handle the vacant properties in this community. You all told me that we know the people who own these properties and we can get these properties easier than you can. That's what I was told. And I was excited. And in 3 years, not one property has been brought to me for redevelopment. Not one. So I will not sit here and be lied about when I have done everything that I know how to do. A project like the one we're talking about that we hate is $17 million. CRA gave $2.75 million for that project. That means the community still needs to bring $16 million to the table. $16 million to the table. It doesn't happen like that. The land value for that, for those properties, the land value for that may be about, at the time that it was given, the time that the CRA board gave it was maybe $500,000. At that time, 6 years ago. And I say it again.
You talking about Claudia's property?
At the time, 6 years ago, the value was that at that time, 6 years ago. Even the value right now of the 40,000 square foot property east of the fire station is not that much. It's a few $100,000. It's not that much. So even if I give that land as a part of a development deal, it's a couple $100,000. So no. So I want to be clear. No, I've been clear. I have met with your developers. I have sat down with you in a room.
Are you referring to me?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay. You all based in.
No, I'm not. I've sat down with your developers and your team on these meetings. In fact, I think you were on. I'm talking over the last. I'm not talking Claudia. I'm talking over the last 2 years.
Jeremy,
Over the last 2 years.
Hold on.
I didn't know you were talking to me.
I'm talking about the people that you have.
Hold on, one second.
Hold on.
Because there's a little bit of inaccuracy in your statement. It was not my hometown.
No.
My hometown never sat with me.
My hometown
My
said.
I didn't know you were
My
talking about me.
hometown said that we were getting the community investors together.
Inaccurate.
And I was told, but hold on, I was told
Inaccurate.
that you all were gonna be bringing me.
Inaccurate.
Okay, so we agree, so we will agree, we will agree to disagree. All I'm saying is that, listen, because you're saying I'm not doing my part. And I literally can bring you city staff who would literally tell you all.
You built 4 houses in 6 years. 4.
What does that mean? We built 20 houses over the last 7 years.
Where?
The CRA had 20 infill houses from 2014 to 2019. We sold our last infill. No, but let's speak facts. We sold our last infill house about a year ago, and that house sold for about $250,000 or $60,000. The house, yes, we built it. And the house before that was Miss Ferguson's house. That house is now worth $340,000. Every house, yes, we have built. Over 20 homes.
In the Northwest.
Right,
Yes.
that's what the CRA is.
Where?
Over 20.
The CRA is
It's infill housing. The board literally has approved these houses. Look, okay. Tell you,
I mean, 20
I'm
houses
gonna
in
say
7
you
years
know,
is not a lot of houses.
That's you bragging about.
Wait, time out, because I know Jeremy wasn't here. The reality is, we bought properties. We can only acquire properties by buying them.
some of those are issues.
And some of them were escheated.
Right.
You might have a property. You don't want to sell it to me. I'm not going to build a house on that. There's only certain limited open space left in this community. You're witnesses to it now. There is nothing stopping somebody, like it happened, a developer coming in by a whole apartment complex. We have no control over that whatsoever. That's called a free market, free will. Wait a minute, now I was on one of the meetings with the developers on Zoom. We had COVID. I remember it, I don't know the exact date, but we had met on Zoom and had a conversation, might have been a year and a half ago.
Right.
So I can witness that one.
I wasn't even talking about it. I didn't know you were talking about
I know,
me.
but
So
we're
you
just
gotta let
trying.
me, hold
All
on.
right, we're
You gotta
trying.
let me speak to what he said. 'Cause I didn't know you talking about me.
I'd like to,
Yeah, I mean, what do you mean?
let me speak, okay, because I was on the meeting. I was part of
What he just said, he called the pastor a liar.
No, I did not.
You said
No,
we
he
lied
is
on you,
saying,
Mr.
excuse me, he feels he's being lied on.
Right. I'm trying to address that. I'm not lying on you, man.
All right, wait, so, calm down.
We're
I
calm.
know it's like family, it's like my dinner table, we're gonna take turns. Cause I'm the mom, and I have the mic.
Listen, I've dealt
Okay,
with Jerry more than
so-
anybody in
I
this
know,
room put
okay.
together.
Alright, so
I'm
if
asking
we
him,
want
he
to,
made
I
a
think he wants to
statement there
make sure everybody in this room
He was
understands.
lied on, and he was talking about me.
Exactly.
I ain't got lie on nobody.
Everything ceases at
So I need to understand, what is he saying that I'm lying on him about? Why would I even do that?
That we don't get.
Jeremy
talk.
He's not even talking.
Please, yeah, stop protecting him. Let him talk.
No, it's okay, it's okay, look, Mayor, the statement was made that every single time something comes to the city, it stops and is rejected. Every single time we have brought something to the city,
You don't get the same.
it's a no.
I said,
No,
we
no.
don't get the same favor. That's what I said.
And what I said was, when developers are brought to the city,
Right.
and they're investors, whether the ones who have to do the microbrewery or the hotel.
The microbrewery, you want to talk about the
I'm talking
microbrewery?
in general, I'm talking.
Okay, do you want to talk about the
Sure,
microbrewery?
yes, sir, go ahead.
Because you just said you had all your staff there. And if you're talking about the young guys from FAMU or whatever, when you talk about the microbrewery, yes, your staff was there. And yes, your staff, you came back and said you want to RFP the property. That's what you said.
And they were going to go after the RFP.
And they were going to go after, and then when they're addressed, you wrote the RFP, so nobody got it.
Actually, I expanded the RFP.
No. Did
No,
anybody answer the RFP?
That was in the middle of.
Did anybody
No.
answer
The
the
short answer
RFP?
is no. In the middle of COVID, the short answer is no.
Okay. So you wrote the RFP,
But
so nobody could get it.
But let's be
I
clear.
don't have to lie on anybody, man.
Let's be clear. But Pastor, let's be clear. In an RFP,
I know all these
in
skeletons.
an RFP, if you're telling me you're doing a microbrewery and a hotel, and now I'm trying to allow for the maximum number of people to develop on that property, what did I do? I said microbrewery, hotel, a grocery store, which we talked about before. I talked about other things, and I opened it up to allow for the maximum number of potential
Did
people.
anybody answer that? So I want everybody to understand this, so y'all understand what he's saying. He's saying he expanded it, but nobody answered it.
In the middle of COVID.
So now you say,
do that.
Wait, why did you answer?
We did answer it.
No, you
The guy,
There was no response.
no, there was no response because what he did, he wrote the guys out of the RFP.
I expanded what the guys could do in the
Okay,
RFP.
so we made
so
it
we
different.
could get it and win it. Right.
So
Just like y'all
I
use
don't
everybody
know. Wrote 'em out
else.
of it.
Why don't you just make it easy
He
for us?
wrote,
Because
he
we
wrote
from
the
here.
guy, he
Because
wanted,
that's illegal.
he
How is that
started
illegal? When you
before
can rewrite it and make it harder, you can't just leave it how it is.
But guys, look, how many people in this room have actually written an RFP?
That's not the point.
No, actually, that is the point. How many professionals in this room?
That is
How
not.
many people have written an RFP? How many know the legal
That's not our
parameters required?
job to know the-
It's my job to know the legal requirements in an RFP. It's
So-
my job to not have this CRA be audited again by the OIG.
Joy.
It's my job.
So let me ask you this. He wrote an RFP. So I want everybody to understand this, that nobody answered. So you're telling me what you wrote was so good, protecting us from the OIG and everybody else, that nobody could answer.
I wish I could foresee COVID.
I'm not.
Because when you look at RFPs, and I released an RFP in the middle of a pandemic, all of those developments.
He also wrote an RFP for Foster Park.
Right.
For Foster Park.
Which was
For
supposed to
Foster
be
Park.
an entertainment
Mayor Cooper.
area.
For Foster Park. I'm waiting on you to finish this. He wrote, since he's gonna use COVID, COVID
For the, on it?
for the RFP for the usage of Foster Park.
Oh, I can't, that's still on the,
No,
It's
no,
done.
no,
Can I
no.
finally talk
Can
about
you
that?
tell these
Wait a minute, now,
people here?
can I talk about the Foster Park use permit? I haven't rejected it.
All I know, nobody
All
answered.
right, well, now we're wait.
So
I didn't
is
see the
something
RFP, wait.
wrong
I
since
hear
he's the
you.
only one that
I
has written
hear
an
you.
RFP?
I
We
hear
need to
you.
get somebody that can write them,
No, I
that
don't,
at least
wait.
people can answer
All
them.
right, wait a minute, wait. Let me, all right, wait a minute.
You ain't helping us.
No, man, you don't
Excuse-
sit up here and talk about I lied on you. What's wrong with you, man? No, well, you need to
Okay.
clear that up.
All right, I didn't see this RFP, but first of all, everybody needs, and you know this better than anybody, you can come in and do an unsolicited proposal. Apparently, that's what you did for the site. You said, I'm gonna bring somebody in, I need to understand, it. I wasn't part of the conversation, so I'm mediating. I'm
Right.
not a licensed
And he wanted
mediator,
to
but I
go to an
listen,
RFP.
okay? But you have to go out for an RFP.
Okay,
You cannot,
And-
we can, go back to,
okay.
I can't say, here's the RFP, here's the property, I'm gonna just give it to you. That's against the law.
We all
That's
know
the
that.
law, okay.
We all know that.
So the RFP was written, I don't know how it was written, I haven't seen it,
It was
I will tell
so
you what
nobody
we did.
answered.
Oh, y'all.
But I don't, again, I didn't see the RFP, was in the middle of COVID, it went out.
I'm not talking about
okay?
that. I'm talking about the RFP for Foster Park now.
Now, Foster Park,
Right.
that was a whole, when we did Foster Park,
don't
you
like
did the
that.
RFP for Foster Park? Oh, you mean I can't talk about the RFP? That's for use.
No, he
That's
didn't
for
talk
the-
about that.
No, and I don't even want to go down the path of parks tonight. Trust
What's going
me.
on with Foster Park anyway?
I can't talk about it if I leave the room. Can you talk about it? It's in a cone of silence.
Can we talk about
Foster Park.
Okay.
Okay, code of silence. I made an RFP, okay? I want to sell ice cream, and I can't talk about that. Is the code of silence?
Don't worry about it.
lifted
Go
for
on.
tomorrow? Wait.
Cause you're all live, man.
I want to do an RFP to paint a building blue, okay? The minute we say we need to paint, say we want to repaint this building. I want to repaint this building, we're going to go out for requests for proposals for that contract to do that RFP. Once that is on the street, I can't talk about it. I can't even have a word about it. So I can't talk about Foster Park, but trust me, when it is, whatever is gonna happen to it, I agree with you as far as how things are written on that realm and how things are done.
It don't matter.
And
man.
I really am frustrated
When
about
I
it,
say
because wait,
something,
I can't talk
now
about an
lie on
RFP. No, I can't talk about RFP that, I adjusted, because we were given it, we were copied it. And I actually said, no, this isn't right, because this is missing. So I'm back. So trust me, I'm back. Okay, I can't say anything else.
So let me
But I'm
clarify
back.
something. So let me clarify something. Pastor said something that is true. Reverend Doctor and I have known each other for a very, 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 very long time. So let me clarify something. My statement regarding the fact that we have met with at least 3 developers from this community is true. Absolutely true. What I didn't say, and what I want to make sure very clear tonight, is that the pastor lied on me. However, what I want to be clear about is the fact that we have met with developers who represent interests from this community. We have met with developers. We have told these developers how we can help them. We have told these developers, oh, you want a 10-story building, but you can't have a 10-story building because our city code since 1983 says you can only have a 3-story building. So let's go change your 3-story building into a 10-story building to help you out. That has occurred. So let me clarify on the record, since it's live, that Reverend Doctor did not lie on me, but I want to make sure I'm very, very clear as well. Very clear as well, that we have made every effort that we can to try and meet with folks who have come to us and who have said, we have these projects and we need to do these projects, and how can you help us? The unfortunate thing is when we do that, in fact, I have given developers literally, to what the mayor said, the unsolicited proposal process that they can also use. And typically what those developers did, including the last developer that came in from New York, when they come to the $25,000 that's required in our code, that's when they don't submit. Because there's a $25,000 fee in our code that when you do an unsolicited proposal, that goes with it. So we literally go through the entire process with them. Vanessa and Christy work with them and all of those things. So let me just be clear. If I said, in fact, I know I didn't say the Pastor Lavender, but if that was the inference, then I apologize. But I'm going to say this. The inference that we reject everything from the community, that's not the way it is. And I want to be clear on that. The fact of the matter is, have we built the affordable house? Has the CRA built the affordable housing that the CRA board has approved over the last however many years? Absolutely. It has. Do we wish we had more single family lots to build on? Yes. Have we tried to buy these lots from some of the investors in the community? Yes, but these investors don't want to sell to us. And a lot of the land, in fact, the majority of the land in this neighborhood that we have tried to buy to do infill housing is owned by investment companies. It's not owned by your neighbor. It's owned by an investment company. And it's very difficult for us to purchase that land to do more infill or affordable housing. It really is. And so all we can do now is to rely on an investor to come in, pay the $25,000 fee, do an unsolicited proposal, which is on our books, and move forward. I mean, it's like, and we will help that person. We really will help that person. So, Pastor, I know you and I can get hot. And by the way, Pastor and I have some very good conversations.
I was out of here. You know,
I'm just saying.
I don't
No.
know. Down to
Wait,
City
do we
Hall.
have keys now?
You know,
I think they
So-
talked about development.
No, but the pastor and I have known each other, and he and I get hot in meetings, and he apologizes, I apologize to him. We really do, because we have.
one thing I ain't got to do, I don't lie on nobody. What I speak, I'm going to tell you how I see it, but I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. You have your way of looking at things, I have my way of looking
Absolutely.
at things. The thing is, I come from a position of passion. I'm just trying to help my community. I told you before, I'm halfway gone, but I'm still gonna keep my property in Hallandale. The thing though is, I care about the people of the community. I think by right, you ought to do what is right. And all I said was, and I'm sticking to what I said, we are not met with the same favor. I didn't say you reject everybody. I say we're not met with the same favor that I know, don't need your opinion, that you give others. That's what I said. And I stick to that because I know, and that's all I was saying. I was saying I would love to see, instead of us being building and we don't own nothing, I would love to see some of the people that are vested in this community be able to have a ownership stake. It doesn't even have to be, I'm not talking about 100%, but I'm talking some kind of ownership stake that we now can build our legacy to say, you know, like we try to do with the parks. But y'all enclosed Foster, basically. But since they are built now, we try to build a historical wing in the hallway to try to say, again, this young man get with Mrs. Smith and others. I'm saying, I know we can do this. So I'm saying, and I was talking to the mayor when I said this part, I said, yes, we could come with a plan. yes, we could come with an investor. The investor that I was speaking about when I said it wasn't met with the same favor, I was told in the meeting, totally embarrassed, that's why I haven't brought nobody else back, that we didn't have no more money in the CRA. We didn't have any money. And I'm like, you know, gave all these millions of dollars to everybody. And then now here we come. I bring a guy in and we want to do something, and now the CRA says it doesn't have any money. So yes, that was embarrassing to me for me to bring people there, and now we don't have no money. When all these other years we were giving money left and right to development. It wasn't necessarily you, but it was your predecessors. And then we get streamlined by saying the rules and regulations, we can't do this, we can't do that. I'm saying, like everybody else will do, you find a way. You find a way. If you got Circowitz, is he still the CRA attorney? Circowitz can find a way to do whatever he wants to do. Whatever, listen, he did that other thing. He took those people property at the medical center. He took it. He took it.
You wonder why
What the commission took it. But my point, he gave them the legal realm to take it. I'm saying in reverse, if you really want to, there are many cities in Florida. Florida got 67 counties.
We got sued for $100,000. It was a commission, a CRA board vote, okay? A vote of the board at the time.
To what? Take their property?
Yeah, to
No.
deny.
So I didn't vote to take their property because I knew it was wrong.
Right. And
It
we
was
paid
wrong.
for that.
It's 67 counties in the state of Florida. You can visit those counties to find out how others are doing it. We don't do that. How are others making it happen? Miami-Dade can make it happen. How are they doing it? But what we'll do is say, no, we don't put the effort into trying to do what is right. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying do anything illegal, but there's a way to get it done if you really want to get it done.
And if that's what you get.
That's a way to
As
get
long
it done.
as it's legal, I will consider it.
Right, Mr.
But you will consider, but only
As
if
long
they
as
bring
it's
it to
legal.
you.
I'm not gonna get in trouble.
But if they don't go,
No, I'm going to pass muster. Wait a minute, because everybody knows me in this room. I've already been in hot water. I've had trouble in my back.
We live in the hot water.
It's so what happens.
Wait,
I understand
okay, so, but I don't wanna have that feeling again, ever again. So, what I am saying, and I believe what Jeremy's saying, that I wanna move on from this, we still have parcels. I can't go to a developer and say, you have to give 10% of this to somebody else. That is illegal.
Okay, nobody's asking you to do that.
So if you can bring your developers, bring your groups together.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not me, I'm talking to these young people,
I
they
can't
won't do it.
speak to last RFP, but if you come in with an unsolicited proposal, everyone is
So
treated fairly.
I heard
don't
you
even
guys
know what
mentioning
unsolicited proposal
mentioning the
is,
sidewalks.
Because any comments was on.
So
We haven't done an unsolicited, we have not done an unsolicited proposal since this last one, and it's been COVID. So, we have a certain amount of time, I believe, so we can wrap it up, that the door is always open. I will fight and do what I can to ensure that we use local vendors, that we put it in RFPs, that we actually focus on local vendors.
so is that done anywhere else in the state?
Well, I know Miami does it, but I don't know if it's.
So if, y'all saying what I'm saying? If it's done somewhere else in the
But
state.
the laws
then-
have changed.
Okay, so is it done anywhere else in the state? Okay, so my question to Jeremy, is it done anywhere else in the state?
A local preference. That's basically what it comes down to. A construction, local preference of construction.
So why aren't we doing it?
We're not doing it because we did that. It was called community benefit. We did an announcement of the community benefit program. And we discovered,
4 minutes. 4 minutes.
when we did the analysis of the local preference, that there was a lot of fraud happening in that program. That was done. And by the way, remember, this was before me. And when the analysis was done, people that were supposed to do sidewalks, and in fact, the fire station was one of the projects, had billed for $125,000 worth of sidewalks. This was community people, and the sidewalks hadn't been done. And that is why that program, but I want folks to understand, the commission had this program as a part of the ordinance, city ordinance, and the program ran into difficulties because there were issues with the program that caused certain things to not be done. That's all I'm saying. So what?
Sorry, one second. Wait, there's a
But we
point of.
do still do on local preference. If somebody bids on an RFP, there is a ranking system with local preference.
Give
I
extra
know I've
points.
seen it. You get extra points. I can't talk about
3 minutes.
But could I say this here? I understand what the pastor's saying, and I understand what you're saying, but there's like no moving forward. It's like, how could you listen to the pastor? Don't get mad, and he ain't gonna get mad. You just listen to what he's saying and try to move forward to where you can understand what he's saying, and when or if he comes back to you, that there's something can be done instead of like being like, everything is like distorted, like I don't really want to hear it, or he's asking for the same favor that was given to whoever it may be. He just wants the same favor. And then every time somebody, it's not like really word for word, it's just that sometimes we have to listen and understand each other so we can communicate, right? Not go on deaf ears. We have to communicate.
And I appreciate you for what you just said. You know why? Because you said he has a way of saying things, or he has a way, and then the city has a way, or I have a way.
Favor is
And
a
that
church
favor,
word,
no,
man.
I
So
got no, but
I know they ain't gonna work on the city side.
So what I have,
ain't even use the word.
so what I have to do is I have to say, this is the community goal, but how can I achieve that goal in a way that is transparent and open and doesn't get anybody in trouble?
Okay,
Right? So once we are on that.
yeah. To that point, just to clear up community benefits, because we've addressed this already, and my hometown, to clarify, is a town hall thing that we do, the community, so that we can meet, get our frustrations out. It has never met ever with the CRA. CEA, however, has met with the CRA.
So my apologies, so CA is what?
CEA is the Community Enrichment Association.
Okay, and is that the one
Not
you're
my
about?
hometown.
No, okay, so you're
I gotta
absolutely.
clarify that.
No,
because that's
and I
important.
appreciate that, and you're right. So, but I just knew that one group
Right, it was
came
not
to
my
meet with
hometown.
us, and that group was supposed to be the investment.
That is Community
And
Enrichment
I've been to
Association.
investment, right, so Eve is 100% right.
Always.
In fact, I didn't even recognize the thing.
Sorry, and the last thing too, to clarify the community benefits program, the reason why it failed, and you guys can't say, but I can. It was basic purchasing 101 that was not followed by the city. You don't write a check for a napkin that you have not seen the napkin produced, and that's what happened. And so, yeah, there was fraud that took place, but instead of putting parameters in place so that checks were not written for things that were not received, services rendered, then we just cancel out the whole program altogether, and that wasn't the issue. It's people who, like, if I'm your employee and I say, oh, here go Dr. Earl, 40 hours, and I have never set foot in work, you're not gonna write me a check. That's what happened with the community benefits program. Checks were written out before work was done. And I don't know where you've ever been anywhere that you've done something without services rendered.
So there is
or services rendered. That's just basic
So,
purchasing.
but there's a
And this
report,
is the last.
but there was a report that was done, Eve, that shows it wasn't just that. There's a report that was
Yeah, but
done.
that's a pretty big.
No,
problem.
but I want to be clear. But I want to be clear again. It's almost like saying nothing wrong happened on the other side. The city made mistakes, but I am telling you, vendors lied.
I'm 100% with you.
Vendors submitted invoices for work that they
All right.
knew
Of
they
course,
did not
but
do.
that's not.
The city had its issues.
Sorry.
Yes, I'm not saying the city didn't
And I'm
have its
speaking
issues,
to you
but
from,
it goes both
I
ways.
understand,
It
but I'm
goes
speaking
both
to you
ways.
from the vein of an accountant. 9 years, plus years, working in an accounting office. That happens everywhere. Invoices are sent off to purchasing and procurement, and they say, pay this. We have to verify the services are rendered. That's just basic purchasing 101. And I'm not saying that people don't do it.
And we caught it.
We got universities that paid out $1 million check to play bunny accounts. Universities, and they have to go back and do their own process. It's not news, is what I'm saying.
So we
They-
caught it, just like you're
They
saying.
caught it, and so what are the corrective actions, not just
Right, so
killing the
if you
program?
got
Never
it,
do
what
it
is the
again.
corrective action, so that won't happen
Sorry,
on your
that
watch.
actually.
So
Okay.
what I'm saying though, that was still good that you don't, why don't you, see, what in my world, I'm gonna also talk the good.
Mhm.
See, you're telling about the bad, you guys killed everything, but the community suffers. Yes, that
And you don't
vendor
even live
cheated,
here.
that vendor lied, but now you still got community that's suffering, or I don't know if I want to say the word suffering, but could benefit from it in a good way. Now that you the sheriff on charge, man, you sit there and see,
So
you ain't gonna let them cheat you no more. So why not take the good, keep the good part, and then catch the fraud people and say, I'm gonna be.
So we started to actually rewrite
That's
the
perfect,
program.
the way they got the program.
Pastor. But that was, I wasn't city manager. No, so in other words, so we actually, no, I'm not blaming it. No, but you know what, look,
The
it
pay
sounds.
program is a perfect example, it's perfect the way it is now. The pay program that you
Yeah,
guys.
but it-
Yes,
Because
that's perfect.
Those policies and procedures are being done properly.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
So how's that our fault?
No, that, the pay
Do it
program.
properly again, and let's bring it to the table again.
Listen, the pay program is exceptional. I'm on record, I'm saying it, right? It's exceptional. And I know who else is benefiting from it.
Okay. It is
Sorry,
8:08, and I think we had a really, really good,
We have
robust
one last
conversation.
thing.
I don't know if we shed any light on the understanding of what we do and how we operate and what has transpired. I can leave you with this. There's still property that the CRA has. Anybody can, so the race is on, you're right. Anybody can come forward with an unsolicited proposal. So, you gotta sharpen your pens, figure out what you wanna do, get it done. I believe that Jeremy, like he said, he will meet with you, but there is a policy there. Write a check, say, here's my proposal. RFPs, I'm back. I'm gonna read an RFP because I'm gonna ask for it, because I have another one on the dais that I didn't even read yet, that I was kind of shocked about. So, and that happened, they've been sitting around for a year, and I don't even know if our philosophy is the same. That was a year and a half ago. So with that said, if there's any other question, not about
It's not a
development,
question, it's just a statement. You have to.
anybody else on this side, and I did, wait, and I don't want to forget this, there was something said, and it goes to how you communicate and the words you use, but I want to make it abundantly clear that our staff that does work, and I forget the word you used because it wasn't a great word to say, they are caring and on point and working hard. It was about leadership or management with the cemetery. I don't want to disparage the people that work in this community, and the people that do work, they have bosses, and if you don't have the right boss, that's when things break down. So, I can't think of the word, I'm sorry, but I wanted to due respect. Because those men that are working at backhoe, I didn't want to say, oh, they're just from DPW, they're caring, they work hard, and they did their jobs. So, okay, so it bothered me, and I didn't want to leave tonight without saying that publicly. Go ahead.
I just want to thank you all so much for coming here this evening and reaching out to the community, and hopefully we'll be able to continue doing this on a regular basis. I come before you this evening just to let you know that I too would like to step in to a position of leadership in this community by becoming a candidate for the city of Hallandale. Commission. And I'd like to work very hard with Mr. Earl and the mayor so that we can make sure that the dreams that we put out before the community I think it was a couple of years ago, that those dreams become a reality, especially the Harlem Village. We have been waiting so hard for that. And we just kind of feel like we're on the other side of town, like who's over there, so we want to make sure that all of the things that we've discussed in the past, that they really, really come true. As you can see, it's a lot of us in here, and we're passionate about what we do. And I commend Reverend Dr. Sanders for what he does every day and how he encourages all of us. We just love our city. We just want the best for it. In all the quadrants, we want the best for it. So again, thank you so much for coming out. Hopefully we can have some healthy conversations. And I do know I want to ask one thing, please, when it comes down to lighting in this community, it is very, very dark over here. Even by the water plant, which is right across, down the street. As soon as you turn that corner, it is pitch black. And so as we begin the lighting and that kind of stuff is addressed, please, because we have children that are in this community, and we really, really need to see, can we have some sort of lighting all in our community, because I know down the street from my house it's dark there as well. So if we could just do that, that would be something very, very critical that we need just for the safety and the love for our community. So again, I thank you all so much for being here, and let's have more of these conversations as we move forward to make Hallandale a great city.
And I was waiting for her to say it publicly. I am endorsing her for that seat.
Thank you, Mayor.
Very firmly, while I can't get what I want in the charter, I can do in other ways to make sure that we have equal representation throughout our community. So thank you.
Could I say something?
Yeah, please, from the work here.
I'm going way back. You see who here now? This room should be full.
Yeah.
So pass it out to your friend and your neighbor. If you don't put nothing in it, you will not get nothing out of it.
Right.
Now, a good while back, I was down on First Avenue and the Palms. They closed the Palms. And they were gonna get the license from down on First Avenue and open up the Palms. John Saunders, Mr. Dead, he was the vice mayor at the time. We was at the meeting to cross the road there. And like I told them, you bring this to the vice mayor, which was John Saunders at the time, and you take it down to the city hall. The city hall will not go along with John because the public is not there to back him up.
Right.
And when Ms. Maud Jane went down to the city hall, they postponed the city commission 3 times because the crowd went down there. And like I told them, they're gonna open the Palms up. If you don't go down and back the vice mayor, then they're gonna open up the Palms. And when they went down there, the city commission postponed the meeting 3 times. The 4th time, the Lord Jane got up and said one thing: we do not want that pond open again. Why they didn't open it? Because the northwest section was there to back the Lord Jane. And that's the reason the pond was closed now. I've seen a lot of changes. I don't look for it to be like it was yesterday. I did 31 years with the police department. I've seen a lot of things change, and I've seen a lot of things not change. If you don't back the commissioner, if they're right, it ain't no good. Like I said, there should be more Northwest people here right now. If you don't put nothing in with your community, you will not get nothing out of it. We got to back one another. But back is right. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Don't care who you are. And the ball's not always right, but they're the ball. I took a lot of stuff, but I'm still here. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I've been 94 years, November 20.
So I guess he said you got to back you in. Sounded like you got an endorsement.
Peace officer, I want to recognize our two officers here. Who work very, very hard in the community. They're really great, and they're out there to help you. And God bless you all, and we'll see you next time.